73rd session of the Student Senate to order on March 17th, 2021 at 7:03 p.m. in a hybrid format. I'll begin with a period of opening remarks, and I'm just going to use those to welcome everyone, whether you're on Zoom, whether you're here in person to the meeting. It's great to be back with you guys. This will be the meeting that we have where it's just 73rd in session, and after next week, we'll be going 2 sessions simultaneously. So that's going to be a really fun process. I know some of you are in that session as well as in this session, and so you're excited and anticipating, and I'm very excited for you guys as well. But we do still have a couple meetings left here in the 73rd, and we can hopefully get some good work done in there. With that, we're going to move into a period of opening roll call led by Speaker Pro Tempore Trostler.
All right, folks, he is now in the chat, so go ahead and fill it out. I asked you to fill it out by 7.
All right, and as multiple people are still coming in from the waiting room at this point, Speaker Pro Tempore Trostler has told me that form will stay open until 7:10. So if you have not filled out the opening roll call form, you have until 7:10. However, we are going to go ahead and move forward with our meeting, and that will lead us into a period of invocation and the pledges of allegiance led by Chair Ahmed.
Howdy, Senate. I'm always happy to present the invocation. So if you all don't know, my faith is Islam. I am Muslim. So I'll be presenting this in Arabic and then translating it in English. So feel free to bow your heads, put your hands out, whatever you do, whatever you see fit. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم إنا نحمدك على نعمك الواسعة التي أنعمت علينا اللهم أعنا على أن نستعمل نعمتك فيما يرضيك وهب لنا القوة والأمانة عند أداء عملنا اللهم أعنا في أن نستعمل نعمتك فيما يرضيك وهب لنا القوة والأمانة عند أداء عملنا في السنة. In the name of Allah, the most graceful, the most merciful. O Allah, we thank you for all the blessings you've bestowed upon us. O Allah, please assist us and guide us to use these blessings to do what pleases you. O Allah, please give us the strength and honesty to fulfill your duties in Senate. And for those of you wondering, Allah means God in Arabic. So, amen. And with that, I will proceed to read our pledges. So, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Following that, pledge to the Texas flag. One moment. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Senate.
Thank you, Chair Ahmed. We'll now move into a period of the reading of the mission statement in Aggie Honor Code, read by our longest serving Senator, Chair Rodriguez.
Howdy, Senate. The Texas A&M Student Senate represents all students in order to enhance the Texas A&M experience within our university and communities through research, legislation, and advocacy in accordance with the core values of our institution. And Aggie does not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. Thanks, and Gigam.
And with that, we'll move into a period of the singing of the Spirit of Aggieland, led by Executive Director Marvin. And Executive Director Marvin, I think we're missing sound. Thank you, Executive Director Marvin. With that, we'll move into a period of open forum. Speaker Pro Tempore Trosclair, do we have any people signed up for our open forum today?
Yes, sir, we do. Joseph Rogers, Core Values Committee.
Joseph Rogers, off-campus caucus.
Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
I'm here on behalf of Take and thanks for Values Committee once again with our nominee for the month of March, which is loyalty. So our nominee is Heather Grawl, and I will read what her nominator wrote about her. True loyalty is a rare and remarkable trait. I'm proud to say that Heather Grawl is one of the most loyal individuals I know. She is dedicated to helping her community, friends, and family prosper by being encouraging, making time to talk with others, and supporting her friends and their events. For instance, Heather keeps contact with her friends from high school, even as a junior in college. At first, I found it odd that she always took time to meet with old friends and stay in relatively consistent communication. However, I recognize that this action is a part of her identity. When Heather makes a friend, she does everything in her power to remain close and engaged. I can think of no better person to represent our ethic of loyalty. Heather Grawl is a service-minded individual who is loyal to her community. Heather and I met in the 6th grade and have been friends for about 9 years. Through this time, Heather has supported me and my family through difficult times and trials. She is never too busy to sit down and attentively listen to how someone's day went and how she could support them. For instance, when I decided to switch majors, Heather supported me in the process and gave me guidance. Furthermore, Heather joined Women Helping Out Other People in her sophomore year and has served dozens of people in the community. For instance, last semester, Heather volunteered to deliver meals to elderly people every Friday for 2 to 3 hours, despite having a hectic semester. She also serves as a leader in the Hispanic Mentorship Program by mentoring individuals, creating connections, and gathering participants' feedback. From her actions, I find it easy to recognize that Heather is loyal to the Texas A&M community. That is the description for Heather. I please ask that you will consider her to be our core values nominee for the month of March. Thank you, and I yield my time.
Are there any questions for our presenter? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Rogers. I do believe now we will move to a vote to confirm the nominee from this month's Core Values Subcommittee, and we'll vote using the yes/no buttons on Zoom. So go ahead and select yes if you'd like to vote in favor, and no if you'd like to vote against. We have about 5 seconds more to finalize votes. We're going to go ahead and close voting there, and by a vote of 17-0, that nominee is confirmed. And with that, Speaker Pro Tem Board Chosler, do we have any other participants in our open forum?
Yes, sir, that's it.
Fantastic. We'll go ahead and move into a period of the approval of the 3/3/21 meeting minutes. And we'll move by general consent to approve these meeting minutes. Do I see any objection to general consent? Seeing no objections, by general consent, we have approved the 3/3/21 meeting minutes. And we will move into a period of unfinished business, beginning with the second reading of SA 7306, the Dress Code Inclusivity Act. Chair Hein, do you have any other presenters with you today?
Yes, we will have Kurt and Chair Hoffman.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Kirk Niekamp. I am a senior public health major, and I'm an incoming senator representing the Health Science Center Caucus. I am honored to be a part and to be an author of this act that has really revolutionized what I've thought about who I am and where I'm appreciated. I cannot stress enough the fact that gender is a spectrum. Gender is not a binary system. And what we've let society do is create a binary system. And in that, I have found myself being a non-binary person using they, them pronouns. And a lot of the times I get turned away. And so with this act allows me and allows a lot of people in the future to feel comfortable being who they are inside of the Senate chamber and outside of Senate. So this is an act to reform the dress code to be inclusive of all gender identities.
So whereas 1, the Texas A&M Student Government Association strives to be inclusive to all and not discriminate on the basis of sex assigned at birth, gender, gender identity, and gender expression. And whereas 2, the Student Senate is a professional organization who strives to maintain a high standard of professionalism while being intentional of cultivating inclusion.
Therefore, let it be enacted 1, the following modifications are made to Title 3, Chapter 1, Article 4, Section 1, Subsection B, and subsequent sections. Senator dress code. All senators shall be required to adhere to the professional dress standards in the official Senate meetings as enforced by the Rules and Regulations Chair. Requirements for meetings outside of the official Senate meeting shall be determined and enforced by the prospective chair. Professional dress is considered as the following: striking gentlemen's, adding non-court of cadet senators, slacks with button-up shirt tucked in with a belt, tie, formal neckwear, and sports coat or jacket, or suit with belt or suspenders or braces, and tie, formal neckwear, or a professional dress skirt and jacket, or pantsuit with appropriate shirt, or other professional dress. The jacket and sports coats may be removed for comfort throughout the meeting, as well as loosening of the tie. Shirts should remain tucked in throughout the duration. Hats and cultural attire may be worn as long as they meet professional standards. Mini skirts, sundresses, beach dresses, and spaghetti strap dresses are inappropriate and unprofessional. Clothing must be modest. 2, Corps Cadet members dress determined as business professional by the Corps Cadet leadership. Strike the entire subsection 3. What would now be subsection 3, professional shoes should but are not limited to dress shoes, Oxford loafers, boots, flats, and dress heels, tennis shoes, flip-flops, sandals, and slippers are unprofessional. Subsection 4, jackets and ties must be worn before getting recognition. If these items were removed during the meeting, failure to adhere to the dress code standards outlined will result in a loss of speaking privileges. So that reads the following, and let it be further enacted. 2, a copy of this will be sent to Megan Hine, rules and regulations chair. And with that, we yield our time for questions.
Presenters are open for questions. Are there any questions at this time? And as a reminder, if you do have any questions, whether you're in the room or on the Zoom, please utilize that raised hand tool. Seeing no questions, that will end our Q&A period. We'll move into a period of debate, beginning with debate against. Do I see any debate against at this time? Seeing none, do I see any debate for? And seeing none, debate has become one-sided, and that will conclude our period of debate. We'll move into a period of voting led by Speaker Pro Tem Portrospa.
Right, how do you folks? Let's go ahead and when that gets open, we'll leave it placed in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys till 7:23.
Just as a reminder to any guests who are with us today, only senators can vote on these pieces of legislation. We do go through and check the names. You won't get in any trouble, but your vote's not going to count. So please do not put anything on the sheet if you're not a senator. sir.
There are 38 votes in affirmation, 2 against, and 1 abstention.
And by that vote, SA 7306, the Dress Code Inclusivity Act, does pass. That will conclude our period of unfinished business, and we'll now move into a period of new business. I do believe that there is a motion to be made. There it is. All right. Senator Hernandez.
Senator Hernandez, Liberal Arts Caucus, permission to preface?
Briefly.
Do I stay here?
Yes.
Okay. The Defense of Academic Freedom Bill calls on administration to take protective measures against the influence of authoritarian governments on academia, and also stands with Chinese students against fear of repression and censorship at Texas A&M. The legislation is in no way, shape, or form an attack on the Asian American community, and I would encourage y'all to read it to see for yourselves. In fact, the motivation of this bill is to support the mental health of Chinese students. However, in light of the recent hate crime against Asian Americans yesterday in Atlanta, I want to ensure that I am considering the sensitivities of the APITA community, and that the timing of this piece does not take away from the conversations highlighting Asian American prejudice in our country. After speaking with the APITA senators in the 73rd session, I moved to postpone SB 7308 to the next general meeting on March 31st.
And seeing a second in the chat, this motion is debatable, so we will move into a period of debate, beginning with debate against. Do I see any debate against at this time? Seeing none, do I see any debate for? And seeing none, debate is one-sided, and debate will conclude on the motion to postpone definitely to the next meeting, SB 7308. We will now move into voting. Voting will be done on Zoom via the yes, no buttons. This does require a majority vote. So go ahead and vote yes if you are in affirmative, and no if you are in negative. We have about 5 more seconds to finalize votes. We're going to close that, and by a vote of 20-0, that motion does pass. SB 7308, the Defense of Academic Freedom Bill, will be postponed definitely to our next General Senate meeting. With that, I am going to relinquish the chair to Super Pro Tem Forrest Rossman.
I get the power back. Mr. Speaker, you recognize.
The next time.
Yes. Want the power, can't use it. This is great. Okay, we're moving into item Senate Act 7307, Aggie Mentors Establishment Act. With 5 minutes starting, how do you speak?
So-
Oh, same.
And we have a presentation, Executive Director Margaret, can display that as well. All right, well, howdy, Senate. We are here in front of you today because we're putting up a piece of legislation that we're all here very excited about. So this entire session, I've talked to you about the potential of establishing a mentorship program. The people who are standing up here with me today are the ones who made it happen. They're the people who put in the blood, sweat, and tears to go ahead and make this a recognized student organization. We have confirmation of that. We are a recognized student organization at this point. Our officers, bylaws, constitution, all of those things that you can find. And so we have a little presentation for you that we're going to go through to kind of tell you about the process, to tell you about the organization itself, to tell you why we want to become an SGA committee. But with that, I'm going to head off to Levi McClenny to introduce everyone else and keep going.
All right, howdy, Senate. It's good to be back. My name is Levi McClenny. Could you take the next slide? There we go. All right, my name is Levi McClenny, Front Executive Class of 2014. I'm here today with some of the members of my team, our team, as we put together this organization. The founding members are on the slide here. Myself, I'm currently the 2020 Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Student Representative, formerly Student Regent. 2016, I was the Executive Vice President of Student Government working in the room. And also that year, I helped found the Texas A&M Career Closet, which is an incredible organization and awesome opportunity. I stand here today with my beautiful wife, Jacqueline, currently the Operations Executive Vice President, Ryan Brown, our 2021 upcoming Chair for Aggies and Mentors, and formerly the Fish Camp Chair. Zach McHugh, who all of you know, I think I assume at this point. Lauren Krause is currently the Chair of Aggie Mustard. She's been involved in helping us to stand up the structure of the organization. Grogan is our incoming finance chair. She's been an incredible asset to us. And I'd like to highlight our advising staff, currently Cynthia Olvera, an incredible advisor. Some of you have probably worked with her in the past. She's advised organizations such as Carpool, Alternative Spring Break, Aggie Recruitment Committee, Aggie Wranglers. And also Cami Hernandez, who is a full-time employee of the Texas A&M Career Center. She is actually the owner, or she's the operator of the software that we are using to do the mentorship program. And so that's actually run by the Texas A&M Career Center. So that kind of brings me into the next slide. It brings me into some of the vision, the purpose, and the mission of Aggies and Mentors. We seek to create an inclusive and diverse professional development organization, and that's really the principle of this organization. It's a professional development organization. It builds, in order to do that, we build on a collaboration, already existing collaboration between the Association of Former Students and the Career Center. The Association of Former Students has been helping us out with event planning and connecting us to the Young Alumni Association for a mentor pool. And the Texas A&M Career Center has been putting up the software that we're using. The crux of this mentorship program is built around a software program that pairs Aggies with mentors. That software is offered as a free service from the Texas A&M Career Center. Once again, Cami on the previous slide is the primary operator of that software. We have her on as an advisor for the organization. The purpose of the organization is to connect current students to former students. That's the principle, that's the premise, and that's what we want to do. And in order to build relationships for students as they go out into the workforce. And the mission, once again, professional development, underscored. It's extremely important as young students are entering into the workforce to go out and to build these relationships and to have an opportunity to have a mentor going into the workforce as they enter into the world. So the core values of the organization, these are what we like to hang our hat on. One is professionalism. Needless to say, as a professional development organization, it's extremely important to be professionals themselves. And a couple of Aggie core values in there, integrity and loyalty. The loyalty piece is what we like to bring about. We think it's very important. This organization brings former students back to campus, as well as hopefully provides current students the opportunity to go out into the working world and turn around, look back to the university and have the opportunity to give back themselves. And then diversity, and that's diversity in background, diversity in identity, diversity in major, diversity in socioeconomic background, wherever you come from, whatever you identify as, you're welcome in this organization, and we'll find a mentor for you. So we believe the Aggies and mentors core values are consistent with those at SGA and Texas A&M University. They include student leadership, service, and tradition, and that's why we're here today, seeking to become a committee of Texas A&M Student Government Association.
All right, thank you, Levi. Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
My name is Ryan Brown, Python Texas A&M class of 2020. And I'm just going to talk to you all kind of about the structure of our committee and what we got going here. So the head of the committee is the chief student leader, and that's myself throughout the fall semester as the executive chair. Under the executive chair are the assistant directors consisting of the positions that you see above. And that is considered our executive leadership, the chief leaders of the organization. Should any of those directors feel that they need to add committee members at any time to assist with events or any other current organization operations, they're able to do that at their discretion and at the discretion of the executive chair and the advisors as well. Current students who enroll in this program and who are paired with a mentor, those are going to be considered our members. And so they're members of the organization. They're not required to attend weekly meetings like executive leadership is, but they are participating in the organization. And then our mentors are former students. Those are going to be considered volunteers. They're volunteering their time to help mentor a mentee. Next slide, please. And so this is kind of what our process will look like. It's a very general, application process to recruit mentors and mentees. Once they are selected and we have a group of mentors and mentees, they're going to be required to go through some trainings as well as to sign a values agreement. Some of these trainings include, but are not limited to, diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings, as well as sexual harassment, sexual assault prevention trainings. Like I said, they're also going to be required to sign a values agreement in order to participate in this program. Secondly, or after that, that's when our matching process will actually begin. And we'll be working with the Career Center to make sure that every mentee is paired up with a mentor who has a similar background as them. And then after that, they will regularly meet with their mentor. And that's when, we really cultivate that relationship between the mentor and the mentee. So that's kind of what our mentee membership process looks like. If we can go to the next slide. And last, I just want to talk about our goals as an organization. And so these are kind of split up between our primary goals and then our goals that will help support our mission as an organization. And so our primary goals are to better our organization through regular assessments, right? Yearly assessments that we take, things about our assessments of our programs, relationships between the mentor and the mentees, and satisfaction assessments as well. Lastly, we want to be sure that we're developing our members, developing them into leaders. We are a professional development organization, and that's what we strive to do. And then lastly, we really want to grow our organization. We want to grow our mentors and mentees over the years. And so we want to further that recruitment efforts in order to grow our organization. And then on the right, you'll also see our kind of supporting goals as well. Some of the events that we would like to have are fall tailgate, workshops, speaker series, dynamic trainings, and a spring banquet as well. Obviously, at this time, all of those are contingent on current COVID-19 protocols. So there's a possibility that we aren't able to do those right when we start in the fall, but eventually down the line, those are some of the goals that we want to reach. Now I'm gonna hand it over to Jacqueline now.
Well, howdy, Senate. I'm Jacqueline McClenny now. Asked you if you all knew me before we got married. As said before, I'm Operations Executive Vice President this year. And the reason why I reiterate that is this committee evaluation. Now, committee evaluations happen biannually for all committees. And now that can change to annual if they are in review. Now, I want to make sure that we are meeting all the standards that current SGA committees are already meeting. So we've already talked about the overview and structure, description of our growth, membership, selection process, mission statement. And the thing that I really want to highlight here is which SGA criteria this committee falls under. And you'll see we checked all 4 boxes, and that's because we really do believe that we hit develop service and leadership potential. We serve student interests. So many students would like to have a mentor. And we promote Aggie spirit and tradition and core values by bringing back those former students and allowing them an opportunity to serve current students. And then lastly, we provide service to campus and the community. So the goals for the year, thank you, Brian, for already touching on that. The reason why code compliance is not checked is because code compliance is purely for SGA committees. And that means that they have the correct branding, SGA logos on all the appropriate things, which of course, if y'all choose to accept this as a committee, we would do all of those things. And then lastly is finances. So finances, just to loop back around, the crux of our mission is to purely partner former students and current students, which is done through this software, which we do not have to pay for at all. The university has already purchased it and it has no deadline. It does not end. So we will never have to rely on that in terms of financial costs. As for allocations, I can't say what we spent last year, as of course that's not applicable, but what we would plan on is approximately $150 each year, purely for operation costs, such as wanting to have a table at the MSC open house, career fairs, making sure that we have marketing materials and that. Now, looping back around to those events that we really do hope to have if COVID allows. We already have a partnership and affiliation with the association, and they've already talked to us about having some development funds there available to partner with us to figure out how to make those events happen. So again, allocation process, we're really only looking at $150 a year that we would be asking. And lastly, we do not have any member fee requirements.
All right, I know we said a lot of words, so I'm going to try to wrap it up here. We still are going to read the legislation for the first reading as well. But I want to wrap up by saying that this is something that goes in line, goes hand in hand with SGA's purpose. As I see it, SGA has a purpose that's twofold. First, to represent students and to be a liaison to administration for students. And second, to provide professional development and leadership growth for those who participate in SGA. So I think this absolutely goes in hand in hand with SGA's mission, with our purpose while we're here as an organization on campus. And I think it's time that we have a mentorship program. We have a whole wing of SGA dedicated to the fact that we are here for professional development. We are here to learn and grow because we are students as well. And so this organization accomplishes that. This organization allows us to reach that as SGA. So I hope we were able to convince you. Obviously, we're not voting this week, but we'll be voting at our next meeting. So if you have any questions in that time that you don't get to ask today, come up to any of us, find any of our phone numbers. You obviously have my phone number here in Senate. Let us know what those questions are, because we want to address those and we want to make sure we can move forward with SGA and hit that part of our mission that we need to get to here in SGA. I'm going to hand it over to Brogan to do some reading.
Okay, so this is the Aggies and Mentors Establishment Act. Okay, whereas 1, while Texas A&M provides a world-class education to students and prepares them for the workforce, many students would greatly benefit from additional guidance and encouragement to nurture their collegiate and career aspirations. And the Texas A&M University Student Government Association exists in order to provide an officially recognized student organization that identifies and represents student interests, promotes student participation in the overall policy and decision-making processes of the university, enhances the quality and scope of education at the university, and promotes the general welfare of the student body, and
Title III, Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 5, Subsection A states a committee or commission is defined as an organization in which the primary mission is to perform services that are of direct immediate benefit to the student body and to the community of Texas A&M University. And the Aggies and Mentors embraces the mission of the Texas A&M Student Government Association is of immediate benefit to the student body and strongly embraces the core values of integrity and loyalty. Therefore, let it be enacted one, that Title V, Chapter 104, Article 4, Section 15 shall now read, Section 15, Aggies and Mentors, A&M. A, statutory establishment. There is established an executive branch committee known as the Aggies and Mentors, or A&M. B, mission statement. 1, the mission statement of Aggies and Mentors is to provide opportunities for professional development and leadership growth by connecting current and former Aggies. And primary charge. The primary charge of Aggies and Mentors shall be to provide connections between current and former students at Texas A&M University through collaboration between the Student Government Association, Association of Former Students, and Career Center. And a copy of this bill be sent to Doug McHugh, Eric Mendoza, Jacqueline Swanee, Megan Hine, and the Aggies and Mentors.
We're open for questions.
Let's move into a period of questions. Are there any questions? Senator Allen, I did see you first.
Senator Allen, Canadian Business Caucus. My question is, why do you feel that this committee needs to be an SGA committee?
Yeah, so I think this committee needs to be an SGA committee because it directly provides a service to students that all students would benefit from. Currently, there exist all sorts of other mentorship organizations that are dedicated to specific majors or whatever it may be, but there's not really a campus-wide, student body-wide mentorship organization that pairs Aggies with former student mentors. So that's the gap that we're really trying to fill right now.
Thank you.
Senator Rogers.
Senator Rogers, Off-Campus Caucus. My question is really for anyone who wants to answer. Is this more like a one-year program or a multi-year program, or is it more ad hoc depending on the needs of the students?
So it's really however best fits the student. So the goal would be, of course, to get these students involved to have a mentor as young as possible to help them grow with them. And the other cool thing about the program is they can switch mentors at any time. So if it's not a good fit, if you switch majors, if you switch programs, if you have another preference based on what you need at the time, whether that's networking, internships, navigating life, they can navigate that. And so the program is designed to grow with the students from a year-to-year basis, whether that's starting as a senior or starting as a sophomore or second.
Thank you.
Chair Jeffers.
Chair Jeffers, active affairs. I'm wondering what your current population of members and mentors is currently.
So currently the Aggies and Mentors program is, we just received recognized student organization status. And so we do have quite a bit of interest through the Young Alumni Association, that there would be a lot of interest in providing former student mentors. And we've seen this program extremely successful in other majors. All of the programs that Candy worked with in the past are very successful at finding mentors to pair with mentees. We do have a strong mentor pool to pull from. Really the big push, and where we think that SGA as well as the student organization is going to really push us over the edge of being successful, is by providing a platform to connect students to those mentors. So this has been tried in the past, and the issue was at the time that there was not a student organization to push the ball. Once again, we're here trying to fill that gap. There's no shortage of students interested, and there's no shortage of mentors interested. The question right now is how do we connect the two? And that's what we're working on.
And to give you an answer in terms of numbers, the association actually polled all the former students a number of years back when they tried to launch this. And they needed that student connection. There were 20,000 former students that were willing to become mentors.
And there's a lot of young alumni interested, and we've already had a conversation with the ACT about it. They're extremely interested in helping us out.
Senator Smith.
Senator Smith, Coles Caucus, what is the process going to look like for vetting mentors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have an application that Cami Hernandez has put together, and she has an extensive background in that vetting process and making sure that, you know, there's not going to be anybody that comes in that has, you know, any sort of criminal history, et cetera, et cetera. But additionally, the kind of one of the big pieces of this is that we're carrying former students, Aggie former students, and those ones are going to step up and say, hey, yeah, I want to provide an internship opportunity, are probably not going to be ones necessarily that we were incredibly worried about. We do have a lot of line items in our operations manual of how we're going to handle different interactions that may be negative and how that process will change. But for the time being, you know, we're not anticipating, since Aggies are working directly with Aggies, we're not anticipating a significant amount of issues in those interactions.
Senator Martin.
Senator Martin. Senator Martin. Okay, Senator Martin. Question for y'all. What I was wondering is, would y'all designate maybe a more experienced university staff member from, let's say, a dean or whoever, to be a head mentor of this? Because right now it seems like there's not really a kind of hierarchy in this kind of structure to that standpoint.
So I can speak to this. So Cami, the advisor that we talked about earlier, has been, so that advisor has been involved with mentorship programs across campus for years. She's the one who runs the whole software system at Texas A&M. And so she is our secondary advisor. She's in place to make sure, you know, we follow in the footsteps of the mentor programs that have come before us that have done things very well, and we avoid the mistakes that they've already made. So we have the experience, we have the wealth of knowledge in her, as well as our primary advisor. And so I'm not really sure if there's something else that needs to happen, but if there's a follow-up there, I'd love to hear it.
The chair would like to entertain a motion to extend question time as we have reached 5 minutes. Senator Jeffries.
Senator for African Affairs, I would extend the period of question and answer by 5 minutes.
That has been, actually, that needs a second, doesn't it? Nope. Okay, perfect. Let's go with that. Let's see, Senator Gonzalez with the next question.
Senator Gonzalez, point of order.
Need to vote, doesn't it?
We need to vote on
Okay.
systemic
Yep.
debate.
Knew there was something I was forgetting. Okay. What'd you say?
Yeah, so by general consent, do we approve the motion? Yes, if there's no objection.
By general consent, do we approve the motion? I see no objections. Perfect. Senator Gonzalez, you have the next question. My apologies.
Senator Gonzalez, News Caucus. I see that one of your values is diversity, but I don't see that as one of the executive positions. So I was wondering if y'all ever considered that having like as a position.
Yeah, so actually in our Constitution and Operations Manual, it says that the executive chair can add any directors as they best see fit, and that is definitely one that we missed in the initial screening of that, and so we're so grateful that you pointed that out and that will be changed. Yeah, I can't even believe this.
Senator Allen.
Senator Allen, Mays Business Caucus. My second question is, how many of the executive leadership will be here at A&M in the fall?
Yeah, so me and Brogan currently will be here in the fall. I'm actually graduating in December of 2021. But right now I'm kind of in the process too of formulating the executive team, recruiting some people to work on that, specifically people that are younger, who are going to have more time here than I am. And really my focus too, or my secondary focus is for the fall semester is really working to develop these leaders too, so that, you know, once I leave, the organization has a really solid foundation of leadership there to see it through for the rest of the year. You know, Brogan's a perfect example of that. I'm already comfortable with it for hands. And so that's what we're doing right now is I'm recruiting my team right now and have a lot of interest from people who join that executive.
And as a note, I will add too, our advisors will be sticking around as well. So the advisors will keep that continuity. And then the application process will include, if we become an SJ committee, the same process as SGA and getting those executive members put in place for next year.
Thank you.
Senator Rogers.
Senator Rogers, off-campus caucus, has there been any discussion on making this program mandatory or at least recommended for some positions in the SGA and or an SGA committee?
I think that conversation's happening right now. Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Thank you.
I will say one of the things that we are trying to harp on in terms of marketing is really pushing it through different academic programs so that when different students, may need that extra support, that is a resource. And so in a similar fashion, we are thinking about all those different ways to help market it and help it, really foster leaders. And so that would definitely be one that we would include.
Chair Ahmed.
Hadi, Chair Ahmed, off-campus caucus, diversity and inclusion. So my question is, I know you had mentioned that you are in the process of recruiting your members in your team, but then you graduate and Brogan, hello, is the only one left. So I guess I was wondering what's kind of your plan to ensure that your first thing, I guess, how do you plan to recruit this new team? Is it going to be an application process? Who's going to kind of review those and decide that? Will it be you five? And then following that, how are you going to make sure that the vision that you five have laid out remains continued with all of these new members who weren't really there when y'all were laying down that foundation?
Yes, so thanks, Senator. I appreciate your question. So really what I'm doing right now is kind of working on an application process to recruit those other executive leadership members. Those applications will be reviewed by the people up here, as well as our organization advisors as well. And then to answer the second part of your question, just about making sure that, people are there to carry on the mission and vision of the organization. Really, I think that starts with just really working to establish a cohesive team, making sure that we're all on the same page as far as the mission and vision of the organization, and just really making sure that, the steps that we lay out for the next year are consistent with that. And I think that's just going to really help once I leave, making sure that all the other executive leadership members are really always working to fulfill our mission and vision as an organization.
Thank you.
Senator Lucas.
Senator Lucas, I think conversation, sorry. You said that you were looking at recruiting members through academic colleges. Why should students opt for this program over the membership program that their academic college provides?
So the thing there is there aren't that many academic mentorship programs. So there are a handful and they have done very well. So actually this software program that we will be using has been around Texas A&M since 2015. And it has done very well in those small programs. But what about those students who switch? What about those students who want a particular emphasis rather than purely on their major? For an example, someone who is studying psychology may go to med school. So why should they be partnered with someone strictly psychology based if they have a different aspiration? So yes, we're going to encourage it, but it's really open to the student to make that decision as to what is best for them. And with our program, they will have the flexibility to move to whatever is best for them.
And if I can add as well, so I currently mentor in the liberal arts program the younger students who are part of that program. And it's an awesome program. But the academic colleges focus primarily on the people who are older students who haven't graduated, who don't have the life experience. And this program is different and unique because we're focusing specifically on our young alumni and our older alumni who are going to be able to come back and bring with them a wealth of knowledge of what comes after, as well as what professional development really looks like in the real world. And so there's a little bit of a difference there in the mission and the purpose because we're focusing on developing people in a dynamic situation that allows for the people with experience who have gone before to come back and give back, instead of people like me who are, a year or 2 years ahead of my mentor in college and my academic college. So that's really the difference and the differentiation there.
Thank you.
The chair once again entertains another motion to extend questioning time.
Chairman, I don't really know what you're
I'll
talking
take
about.
it.
I'm going to extend the question and answer to all senators who wish to have questions. Headed to us.
Is there a second? Okay, by general consent, are there any objections? Don't see any. That means it passed. Okay, let's continue. Senator Oldhag.
Senator Oldhag, Community Relations. So you touched on this a little bit, but since it's a different program, sorry, I just prefaced, but what's the difference between this specific program and the Maroon and White Leadership Program, if you're familiar with that?
Absolutely, I can take that. So the Maroon and White Leadership Program is really much focused on exclusively leadership. While it's an incredibly valuable thing that really does need a very particular emphasis, this program will allow you to focus on whatever you want to focus. That can be career development, professional development, it can be graduate school admissions, it can be whatever really you are interested in, and you can pair with a mentor based on however you're interested in. So if you're not, since the Maroon and White Fellows Program is exclusively centered around leadership, we think we're filling a different gap by making a more professional development centered student organization as opposed to a leadership development program.
Chair Jeffers.
Chair Jeffers, Academic Affairs. So my question is, why do you want this organization to become an SJ committee and not wait until the fall when it's more established, has the mentors, it has the members, you guys have a track record behind you?
Yeah, absolutely. So to answer the question, the reason we wanted to be an SGA committee specifically is one, to fill a need within SGA. So right now, SGA does not have a program like this. And then two, it's to add further collaboration to make sure that this is a success. So right now we're collaborating with the Career Center, we're collaborating with the association. And if we collaborate with SGA, we can capitalize on what we learned a few years back when the association tried to do this without student help and how that didn't work. And so we can capitalize on those lessons, bring it here, and we can focus on making a mentorship program that works because it's led by current students as well as it has the knowledge of our advisors, the knowledge of the association, and the knowledge of the Career Center to make sure that this is something that is successful. So one, it's going to fulfill a need that SGA sorely has. And then two, it's going to add to the collaboration effort and make sure that this is a success where the predecessor failed. Thank you.
Chair Hine.
Chair Hine, Board Regulations. So I'm going to go back to the answer that you had to Carla's question about the difference between how Maroon and White leadership program, you're primarily focusing on leadership and y'all just more time geared towards the mentee side of things. How do y'all plan on regulating that to where topics that the mentee is asking is appropriate for y'all's mentorship program?
Yeah, so the mentorship program, when the mentor goes in and fills out an application, they'll be able to go through and provide essentially a checklist of things that they're interested in, and it can change at any time. And they can check leadership if they're interested in developing in leadership. They can check in professional development. They want to grow there. If they're an engineering student and they're seeking an internship, they can preference that as well, or any other discipline. And so that really is where we think that the difference lies, is that it allows that student to choose what they want as opposed to kind of being funneled into only a leadership development program. It will still cover that gap if it needs to, and if that's what the student is interested in, and I think we think it's actually a natural extension of what happens. That student is going to grow as a leader through collaborating with somebody out of industry. But we think it adds a little bit to that in the form of this professional development aspect, some of the programming efforts that we're intending on putting on, as well as building out a relationship and a network out in the professional working world.
Permission to follow up? Just briefly.
Yes.
So will the mentor or the mentee be checking in with y'all, like saying what they're focused on with their mentor? Or is that kind of like free for all once they have their mentor? It's like.
Well, we don't want to necessarily put left and right limits on what that mentor-mentee relationship looks like. We do think that the matching preferences are going to kind of give them a natural talking point, and that's the direction that things will start. And of course, and how relationships progress between mentor and mentee is something that is a natural thing that will occur as it needs to occur. So we don't intend on really going in and regulating necessarily. We're going to do evaluations on how is the relationship growing? Are you continuing to meet regularly? Those sorts of things. But as far as what the conversation is about, that we're allowing to grow naturally as any relationship between the mentor and mentee.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course.
Also, to follow up on that, we are doing those regular assessments to make sure that both parties are happy, and if they are not, they can switch at any time. And if there is ever any inappropriate conversations, not respecting each other's values, we do handle those on a case-by-case basis, and we have protocols for all those things, which we are so grateful to have again, Sen Olvera, who is actually in the Office of Risk and Compliance. So she is extra precautious on all these things.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome. Seeing no further questions, I'd like to move into a period of, no, this just gets sent to a committee, that's right. It goes right to Megan Okay.
All right, and as Speaker Pro Tem Porter Claire said, that was sent to the Rules and Regulations Committee for further discussion. And with that, we will move into the reading. First reading of SA 7308, the Caucus Leader Position Reformation Act. Senator Tillis, I believe you're the primary author. Do you have any other presenters with you today? The floor is yours.
Howdy Senate, Senator Tillis, Engineering Caucus. We are going to be presenting the Caucus Leader Position Reformation Act today. After a lot of feedback we got from the last time, we tried to pass it similar through. We decided to bring this back up before the next section so that we can get a complete reformation of caucus leaders so they can better serve their constituents. We're going to kind of do a brief presentation today to kind of walk through some of the different parts of what we're looking to change for caucus leaders. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. So the first thing is that currently caucus leader responsibilities are that every other week, the caucus leaders must meet with an affiliate academic caucus. So on the second page there, on the screen. The goals office is to meet with the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences Student Council, College of Engineering, Student Engineers Council. And this, we believe, was repetitive and unnecessary considering many of these organizations don't meet that often. Not only that, but in the past 3 or 4 sessions, I believe, caucus leaders have not fulfilled their responsibilities in those CA chairs and enforce these responsibilities primarily because it's so unreasonable. So because of that, we want to redefine caucus leader responsibilities so they can better serve their constituents.
Howdy, Senate. So basically, those responsibilities are gonna look like now they will send a monthly letter in which they will like say what they're working on in their caucus. Like that letter is gonna be open. It has to be approved by the caucus. Also, it's gonna be open for anybody who wants to put their name on it in that caucus. Also, they will have to meet at least twice a semester with any combination of the college dean, the associated college council, or affiliated college constituent organization. Also, they will need to meet with their Senate caucus twice a semester. And lastly, they will have to attend 3 caucus leaders meetings, per semester, organized by the constituency affairs chair.
And a quick note there, all of these meetings need to be scheduled at least a week in advance to give all members of the caucus and all caucus leaders adequate time to prepare for the meetings. A full note, and the constituent letter is one letter sent out to the 11th grade class. Just giving general updates about what the caucus is working on, what caucus leaders are pursuing, and also a general update on the Senate to all caucus constituents. Going on, that is the kind of the overview of the new roles of caucus leaders. But then we also changed the election format slightly to make caucus leader elections, we believe, more competitive and make people more engaged in being a caucus leader.
So in these elections, elections will now be taking place after the elections of all chair positions. Previously, elections had to be done before joint session. And so we pushed this back until all chair elections are done. And then the caucus elections must happen within 2 meetings of that. There will now be a 20-minute recess as I'm caucus leader instead of a 10-minute recess. We felt very rushed last year, I know personally in our caucus. So we're extending the time there. All people looking to run for the caucus leader can say their intent to run, and then give a speech on why they want to run, and then all the members will vote on the caucus leader. All the members of the caucus will vote on the caucus leader through a ranked choice voting system. We are running a ranked choice voting system partially as a trial run, because in the future, myself and some other senators like to see ranked choice voting be implemented on all elections and even in some ways in legislation. And so we're using ranked choice as a trial right here, very similar to the SDP elections, if y'all remember those, where you rank all the candidates in the order that you want them. Those are the major changes that we're looking to implement. One final thing, and let it be number 5, is that caucus leaders currently are required to serve in CA if they have 3 or more members. We're scrapping this requirement and making it so that any member of Senate can serve in constituency affairs now that they have their own defined set of responsibilities the constituency affairs does. And caucus leaders will be able to serve in any committee that they want to, whether it's academic affairs, student services, whatever it may be. So we're now open to questions yeah.
Senators are open for questions. Are there any questions at this time? Senator Allen.
Senator Allen, Maine Business Caucus. My question is, who did you collaborate on this updated piece? And what changes did you make from the last time this was brought up?
Absolutely. So I collaborated primarily with Senator Farrow as well as the constituency chairs caucus or committee, excuse me. We sat down in committee and we reviewed all their pieces, as well as Chair T. And we reviewed all the pieces and we made the following changes. We pulled them up. The constituent letter was originally only sent out to the caucus leader. And only had the caucus leader's name on it, and only had to be approved by the caucus leader. Now the entire caucus is involved in making that letter, and approving that letter. Anyone in the caucus can have their name on that letter that's sent out, so it's fair to all members of the caucus. Another one is we clarified, all this was the same as last time, is that for the meetings with the collegiate dean, associate collegiate council, or any organization associated with the caucus, we clarified that it's any combination of 2 meetings with those people. You don't have to meet with the same person twice. You can. It's not, you don't have to do all those things basically using any combination of the 2. Furthermore, we made the Senate caucus meetings at least twice a semester. Well, that's about the same. But as far as absences for that go, caucus members only need to attend one of those meetings. And if they don't attend either of those meetings per semester, it will count as one committee absence, which, as you know, can be made up by attending another committee meeting. You see the other changes. Caucus leader meetings, that was originally a monthly proposal. We now want 3 caucus leader meetings per semester. Collaboration between caucus leaders wasn't as big of a thing this year, so we want to reduce the number of that to decrease the burden on caucus leaders, but still have it as a recurring thing, at least in parts, so that caucus leaders can collaborate and create synergy on different projects to work on.
Commissioner, follow-up.
Granted.
Did you run this by Chair Heinzel's regulations chair before bringing this to the table?
I did not. That was one of the biggest oversights of this piece of legislation. She helped write it the first time around, and we've spoken to her recently about it. I apologize for that, and I will be removing her name from this piece of legislation during committee session if she so desires. I do apologize to Chair Heine for that. It was a big oversight on my part, but this is a big piece that has had many different changes and steps along the way, and it was just one oversight that I made. I do regret.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for our presenters? Seeing none, thank you very much. You can take your seats, and that will be sent to the Rules and Regulations Committee for further consideration. With that will conclude our period of new business, and we will move into a period of open session. Speaker Pro Tempore Trostclair, do we have any pieces of the open session folder on the drive?
Yes, sir, we do not.
Fantastic, then that will conclude our period of open session, and we will move into a period of committee reports. I would like to recognize Chair Jeffers with the motion.
Chair
Ahmed, I'd like to recognize.
Chair Ahmed, off-campus caucus, diversity and inclusion. This is a point of inquiry / information to Pro Temp Trostclair. Do you mind checking your email? There was a piece of legislation sent for open session that was shared with your email.
I can check real quick. I was just looking in the folder. I didn't see anything there.
Okay. Permission to back and forth, please.
Give us 1 second to figure out if email was sent. And
Was it
Chair
sent to my
Hahn,
personal or my pro temp email?
Pro Temp email was shared.
and Chair Hahn, correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe if it was not put in the drive in the open session folder, it cannot be considered for open session.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, there is a legislation in my inbox that was placed in the Senate.
And if it's in the folder or not.
Since we haven't had this problem before, I'll allow the piece to go up, just because there's not necessarily a precedent that we've had with this. So if it's been sent to the pro temp, I'll allow it.
I'm gonna go ahead and share that to the ops director as well.
We will continue on with open session, and we'll get that piece of legislation real quick.
It's been sent to the officer.
Executive Director Margaret, if you could please display it on the screen once you have the chance.
Yes, give me just a second.
Just 1 second to assign a number to the piece of legislation. The version for trust that we can add that to the drive as well.
Yes, sir, it's going to.
So the legislation has been added to the open session folder, and so we'll now go ahead and consider this piece of legislation, the Women's History Month resolution. The presenters would please come to the front or unmute themselves on Zoom. You do have the floor.
Howdy Senate. I do apologize for that mishap. Just to make sure, can we please make sure that Senator Dang and Senator David Garcia are both unmuted? Because they will be presenting alongside me and Sophia. I cannot see if they are.
Good to go.
They're good to go. Perfect. Well, howdy Senate once again. Sorry about that. But for those of you who don't know, March is Women's History Month. And so alongside that, it is Women's History Month, and International Women's History Day was March 8th. So this piece is to kind of recognize that. And alongside that, we will be kind of going through a lot of women's history at Texas A&M because there are so many women that have broken barriers at our own university. And so with that, a resolution to recognize March as Women's History Month, to acknowledge the history of women at Texas A&M, and to reflect on the contributions and accomplishments of Aggie women. And with that, Senator Dang can lead the way.
Alrighty. Whereas one, National Women's History Month recognizes the importance of women's history and spreads awareness regarding the contributions of women within the history of the United States. And
whereas two, women having continued to demonstrate their leadership and strength at the forefront of social change, STEM industries, business, the arts, economics, athletics, and more. And
whereas three, in 1980, President Jimmy Carter established the week of March 8th as Women's History Week. Years later, a joint group of bipartisan U.S. senators expanded the event to include the entire month by introducing the first resolution in Congress designating a Women's History Month. Since then, it has been celebrated annually in the United States in the month of March since 1987. And
whereas four, Ethel Hutchinson is the first woman to have attended classes at Texas A&M University in 1895 and was presented a posthumous legacy award by the Aggie Network in 2018. She was able to attend because her father was an English and history professor, and she assisted in the editing of the first yearbook. She is recognized as an honorary member of the class of 95 and was known as the first campus girl. And
whereas five, in 1925, Mary Evelyn Crawford Locke became the first woman to receive a diploma from Texas A&M. However, she was not allowed to participate in the graduation ceremony. And the following month, the board of directors officially prohibited all women from enrolling. And
whereas six, in 1963, the Texas A&M Board of Directors permitted women to enroll on a limited basis. It was not until 1965 that women were officially admitted into the university, with Sally Shepherd being among the first. And
whereas seven, in 1968, Betty Miller Uttenberger made history as Texas A&M's first full female professor. She taught in the university's liberal arts history department and is known globally for being one of the founders of the Society for Historians of American Foreign Relations. But at Texas A&M, she is best remembered for her work with the honor students. And
whereas eight, in 1967, international student Shanti A. Kachadkar, sorry if I butchered that, from Bombay, India, became the first woman to graduate with a PhD from Texas A&M. And
whereas nine, women were first admitted into the Texas A&M Course of Cadets in the fall of 1974. Following that, in 1976, Ruth Ann Schumacher, class of 77, became the first female ROTC company commander of the W1 outfit at Texas A&M University. And
whereas 10, in 1978, swimmer Vicki Brown Sadecki was the first female to receive an official athletic scholarship at Texas A&M, earning All-American honors and was named team captain in 1978. She also became the first woman elected to Texas A&M Letterman's Association Board of Directors and served as the first female president in 1990.
Whereas 11, in 1983, the Texas A&M softball team won their first NCAA Division I national championship and their second one in 1987. And
whereas 12, in 1984, Diane Baumbach was elected as the first female speaker of the Student Senate. Since then, there have been only 10 additional female speakers of the Student Senate. And
whereas 13, the Women's Resources Center at Texas A&M opened its opened its doors in fall 2001 with the mission to pursue equity and enhance the campus climate for women through visibility, advocacy, support, and programming. Each year, the center publishes a calendar of events centered around Women's History Month. And
whereas 14, the Aggie Women Network, which was founded in 2007, focuses on building a legacy of strong Aggie women through current and former students, as well as enhancing excellence of Texas A&M by promoting the active engagement of women in the educational, charitable, and cultural life of the institution. And
Whereas 15, the Texas A&M women's basketball team made history in 2011 by winning their first NCAA Division I national championship, as well as winning that year's SEC's regular season title. And
whereas 16, from January 3rd, 2008 to January 15th, 2009, Elsa Moreno served as the first woman and first Hispanic American president of Texas A&M University. In 2020-2021, Dr. M. Catherine Banks has been selected as a sole finalist for president of Texas A&M University, the second woman to be in this role. And
whereas 17, the Texas A&M women's track and field team has won a total of 4 NCAA Division I women's outdoor track and field national championships, winning its first in 2009 and then winning again in 2010, 2011, and 2014. And
whereas 18, in 2013, Texas A&M University was selected as one of only 50 host sites for Electric Campus Women Win, the only program in the country that encourages and trains college women to run for student government and future political office. Since then, Elector Aggie Women Win Conference has been hosted on an annual one-day event.
whereas 19, in 2015, Alyssa McKelkey, I'm sorry if I spelled that wrong, became the first female corps commander, while also being a member of the Texas A&M's women's basketball team. And
whereas 20, in 2017, Jasmine Wang, class of 2019, became the first Asian American woman to serve as speaker for the 70th session of Student Senate. She also worked at the Women's Resource Center to support fellow female students at Texas A&M University. And
whereas 21, the first woman to be elected as student body president of Texas A&M was Brooke Leslie in 1994, followed by Lauren Nickel in 1998, Schulerhauser in 2001, Hannah Wimberly in 2016, Amy Sharp in 2018, and with Natalie Parks being elected as the 6th in 2021. And
whereas 22, the U.S. Senate recognized in their designating March 2019 as National Women's History Month resolution that despite the advancements of women in the United States, much remains to be done to ensure that women realize the full potential of society in the United States, which reaffirms the need to have an annual National Women's History Month.
whereas 23, the College of Liberal Arts offers the Women's and Gender Studies degree and minor, which are devoted to the critical analysis of gender and the pursuit of knowledge about women throughout history around the world. And
whereas 24, the 73rd session of Student Senate has a total of 37 women elected, with 6 women serving on the Internal Affairs team as of the fall 2020 elections. And
whereas 25, the Texas A&M student body is 47.1% female as of fall 2020. And
Therefore, resolved 1, the 73rd session of the Texas A&M Student Senate recognizes the month of March as Women's History Month.
let it be further resolved to the 73rd session of the Texas A&M Student Senate recommends that the month of March be a dedicated time to celebrate and reflect on all of the notable accomplishments that Aggie women have contributed to Texas A&M University, and the accomplishments and contributions of women who have and continue to contribute to communities around the country. And
let it be further resolved 3, the 73rd session of Texas A&M Student Senate would like to highlight Texas A&M's Women's Resource Center and commend them for their work in publishing their 2021 calendar, which is filled with virtual campus events centered around the theme of celebrating women who fight for justice. And
let it be further resolved 4, the 73rd session of the Texas A&M Student Senate commends the College of Engineering for hosting a series of virtual events to highlight the technical and academic contributions that women have brought to the field of engineering throughout the month of March. And
let it be further resolved 5, the 73rd session of the Texas A&M Student Senate stands with all Aggies who identify as women and reaffirms support to them as needed. And
Let it be further resolved 6. The 73rd session of the Texas A&M Student Senate extends support to all women's organizations, women athletes, and all women leaders on campus, past and present, for cultivating awareness, inclusion, and empowerment to all women here at Texas A&M. And
let it be further resolved 7, a copy of this resolution be sent to Dr. Daniel J. Pugh, Senior Vice President of Student Affairs, the Women's Resource Center, the Battalion, the Texas A&M Women's Athletic Department, Jasmine Wang, former Speaker of Student Senate, Brooke Leslie, Student Body President 1994, Lori Nichols, Student Body President 1998, Skylar Hooser, Student Body President in 2001, Hannah Wimberly, Student Body President 2016, Amy Sharp, SVP in 2018, Natalie Parks, Student Body President-elect in 2021, Aggie Aerospace Women in Engineering, Aggie Minority Women in Law, Aggie Women in Business, Aggie Women in Computer Science, Aggie Women in Construction, Aggie Women in Entomology, American Association for University Women at Texas A&M, American Businesswomen Association, Maggie's, National Association for Women MBAs, Society of Women Engineers, Society of Women in Industrial Distribution, Society of Women in Space Exploration, Student Chapter of Women's Veterinary Leadership Initiative, TAMSA Women in Medicine, Texas A&M Chapter of the Association of Women in Mathematics, TAMU Women's Club Basketball Team, TAMU Women's Soccer Team, TAMU Women in Aviation, TAMU Lacrosse Club, TAMU's Rugby Football Club, TAMU Women's Ultimate Frisbee, TAMU Women's Volleyball Club, TAMU Women's Water Polo. We're almost there. Texas Aggies Cattle Women, Women Helping Out Other People, Women in Animation, Women in Economics, Women in Entrepreneurship, Women in Film, Women in Geosciences, Women in IEEE, Women in Material Sciences, Women in Nuclear, Women in Science and Engineering, Women Law Student Association, Women of Color Collective Law Students Association, Women in Mechanical Engineering, Women's Chorus, and Women's Transportation Seminar at Texas A&M. And, with that, after reading all of the lovely women's organizations we have on campus, we are open to questions.
Presenters are open for questions. Chair Jeffress.
Chair Jeffress, Athletic Affairs. Do you think you said that to too many people?
Definitely felt a little bit like it while I was reading that mouthful, but I wasn't sure if we could mark that as read, as we do need to read the resolution in its entirety. But we did want to kind of send it to all of these organizations because these are groundbreaking women who are, focusing on cultivating like women's leadership in all of their organizations, in their academics and so forth. And so we did feel like this would be a nice piece to send to all of them so that they can kind of learn about the A&M's history with women on campus and seeing how women have broken barriers throughout campus, and then allow them to really read through that, enjoy looking at this piece and also realizing they are a part of that legacy.
Thank you.
Chair Aldag.
I believe Chair Trosclair sent question in the chat for me, if you'd like to speak first. And
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I had kind of a similar question. Since so many organizations are named, obviously there's a bunch of organizations on campus. We can't name them all, but do you think there's a problem with us kind of leaving some out? I appreciate the sentiment of why we're sending it to so many and the reason behind it. But do you kind of see what I'm saying there about not being able to include all of them and therefore excluding some if we're including that many?
That's definitely an understood concern. And as we are presenting this to Senate, you all do have the ability to amend and decide that. If you feel as though we do want to take some of those names out, we can do that. I think me and fellow authors of this piece really wanted to send it to as many people as we could. And of course, following this, if we find that there are groups that are excluded, we love to make sure that we can send it to them as well, because I do agree that there are so many on campus and we tried to get as many as we could.
I would like to add on to that because I was one of the senators that add on the list of women's orgs onto the legislation. So we went through STUAC and we put down whichever organization that has been what do you call it, confirmed by STUAC. So like if they weren't confirmed, then we didn't put them on. That means they're not active. So like if you do feel like we missed out some organizations, then please let us know.
Permission to follow up. Actually, no, never mind. I think I'd answered my question, so.
Question has been withdrawn. Are there any other questions for our presenters? Seeing none, that will conclude our period of question and answer. You may take your seat. Thank you all so much. I will now move into a period of debate, beginning with debate against. Do I see any debate against at this time? Chair Hine.
Chair Hine, with regulations, I would like to add myself as well as any other senator who would like to sponsor this motion to the sponsorship.
Seeing multiple seconds in the chat, we will move by general consent to attach Chair Hine, as well as any other senator who fills out the form found on the drive as a sponsor of this piece of legislation. Do I see any objections to general consent? Seeing no objections, that does pass. Chair Hine, you do still have the floor and debate against.
I yield my time to the floor.
Floor has been yielded to. We'll move into a period of debate 4. Do I see any debate 4 at this time? I'd like to recognize Senator Smith for the point of information.
Senator Smith, Coles Caucus. I would like to withdraw point of information. Thank you.
Point of information has been withdrawn, and we will conclude our period of debate 4. We'll move into our second round of debate, beginning with debate against. Do I see any debate against? And seeing none, do I see any debate 4? And seeing none, that will conclude our period of debate, as debate has become one-sided. We'll now move into a period of voting led by Speaker Pro Tem Forrest Frostclair. Just as a reference, this is SR 7346.
Also, the form should be open as of now. Let's go ahead and meet back at 8, because I don't like math, 8:40.
I'm like the driver.
Should we just have an in-person?
Oh. Never mind, sorry. Yeah.
Howdy. The results are in 36-4, 1 abstention.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, or just to be extra careful, do we have any other pieces of the open session?
I'm gonna double check real quick. All right, we're good.
Yes, there are no more pieces in the open session folder. We will go ahead and conclude that period of open session and move into a period of committee reports, beginning with Speaker Pro Tem Roscoe.
So I have a couple important announcements. The first one is I'm beginning the process of going through absences and updating those. At this point, there are a number of senators who have reached a threshold of 6 out of 6 absences. At that point, they will be dismissed from Senate. I really don't like writing that email. It's not very fun for me. It's not something I enjoy. And so I want to remind folks that you guys are individually responsible for your own absences. So please be mindful. And one other remark as well, if you do, and I am, the rules register correct me if I'm wrong, if you do absent out from this session, you are disqualified from service in the next session. So please, please, please don't go missing on us. That's just really important. Additionally, going forward, I know we're going to have some opportunities to do a lot more in-person events. So I strongly encourage you guys to, if you wish to, if you feel comfortable, to participate in person and fill out those forms for us. That does help us be able, the more folks that do fill those out, the more people that express interest, the better it is going to be. One final note, I have been slightly behind on sending out some legislation. Within the next couple of days, I should get caught up. If you are an author or the primary author of the legislation, you will be CC'd on the email as well to notify you it's been sent out. That's to help me and to help you. So if you have any questions about that or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. Other questions for me?
Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Ross Clare? Seeing none, thank you, Speaker Pro Tem Ross Clare. Chair Hine.
Chair Hine, Rules and Regulations. Well, howdy, guys. This is probably one of the most productive meetings we've had all session, so just a reminder, all acts and bills, or I guess this is my first, just very important, all acts and bills that you want to pass in this session, the 73rd session, must be presented next meeting. That's because they require 2 readings, they have to go to committee, stuff like that. So make sure that you present those next meeting, or they will be out of order if you present it at that I think it's the 18th or the 14th meeting. Since we have 2, or I'll go back to appointments. So we are working on appointments after Pro Tem Ross Clare finalizes absences. We will be appointing people from the 74th to continue to serve the 73rd and continue to serve those simultaneous meetings as outlined in the code through our appointment process. And then since we have 2 big pieces in my committee, I will be polling my committee of when to meet next week, since I know a bunch of them also serve in 73rd and 74th. So I will get that committee, I'll pull my committee of when to meet, and then I'll send the information in the Slack and make sure that everyone is in the Slack, because I just found out that some of you are not in the Slack. So I'll make sure that you'll get that information. But other than that, I yield my time to questions.
Any questions for Chair Hine? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Hine.
Thank you.
I've been told by Chair Teague that Senator Mosley will be giving his report. Senator Mosley.
Yes, John Carter couldn't make it today, so I will be filling in for him. Yesterday, the Finance Committee met and we anonymously approved the reallocation request from the big event. Their request was to move $4,000 from supplies and materials to equipment rentals for the following items: renting a trailer for the day of, renting golf carts for exec, a tent for the VIP donors, walkie-talkies for exec and advisors, and lastly, their banners to help guide the volunteers. And if Executive Vice President Coote is here, I will pass the floor to her for questions.
Thank you, Senator Mosley. Are there any questions for Executive Vice President Coote? Seeing none, thank you, Executive Vice President Coote and Senator Mosley. Chair Ahmed.
Howdy, Senate. So super excited to see the Dress Inclusivity Act and the Women's History Month piece pass. So quick updates from me. There will be no D&I meeting this week, between this week and next week. If that changes, I'll let you all know. ACES awards have been picked. We have selected the winners, my committee and the Diversity Commission. We met and we chose our winners for those 2 ACE awards. And I will be meeting with Dr. McGowan, who's the interim VP of Diversity, towards the end of this month. So please let me know if you guys have any questions, if you'd like to join in, anything like that. And lastly, the Dean's Care Summit will likely be moved to the end of March, likely beginning of April. So just keep a lookout for that. And outside of that, I am open to questions.
Any questions for Chair Ahmed? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Ahmed. Chair Jeffers.
Chair Jeffers, I'm prepared. Howdy, Senate. Howdy. Thank you. I'm very excited and pleased to announce that Cole Allen is leading a project to work with the Honor Council to review some of their policies and procedures, so that all students are fairly treated with honor council. And then we're also having I believe next faculty senate meeting, we may have when social climate change go up. So it would allow, or it would encourage professors to add to their syllabi, whether their return policies are like date-wise, what kind of feedback they'll be getting, we're giving to students. And then my next committee meeting will be next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Will be hybrid. Any questions?
Any questions for Chair Jeffress?
Yes. Okay. If anyone wants to work on the honor council project, please contact Senator Allen.
Again, are there any questions for Chair Jeffress? And seeing none, thank you, Chair Jeffress. Chair Feldman.
Howdy, Senate. Chair Feldman, Legislative Relations. Not too many updates here. Orange and Maroon Legislative Day, or days now, is in 2 weeks. We've got a couple bills probably coming up next meeting, so that's really exciting. And besides that, not too much, and I am open to questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Feldman? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Feldman. Chair Syed.
Chair Syed, Student Services. Howdy, Senate. In some previous communications with University Dining these past weeks, I wanted to share that sushi is going to be added to a lot of commons area, to a lot of Aggie Expresses as a new option, as well as a new sushi and Asian dining option coming to West Campus. I'm really glad to see that this is coming. There's been a lot of push from students as well as me for increasing like inclusive food options and increasing different cultural food options. I'm currently working on connecting University Dining with our with the cultural councils at the MSC, because they also wanted to collect feedback from them. Furthermore, we will also be having a student services chair meeting coming up next Monday. And if you are interested in attending, please let me know. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'm open to them.
Are there any questions for Chair Syed? Senator Bone.
Senator Boone of the Mays Business Caucus. Chair Syed, on the topic of sushi, I wanted to know, do they have any vegan options?
I will have to check and come back with that. We will continue to advocate for increased inclusive food options. I think the past few years, the body has really advocated for healthy food options, and now we see a lot of salads everywhere and other healthy food options. So I think the next push is really focused on inclusive and cultural food options across campus.
Are there any other questions for Chair Syed? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Syed. Chair Rodriguez.
Howdy, Senate Chair Rodriguez, Constituency Affairs, College of Engineering. Be on the lookout to your inbox this week. Ag input will be sent out. So fill that out, put all your information. You know, it's going to be really good to hear what students have to say for the March newsletter. Along with that will also be the newsletter as well. So be sure to check that out. I'm also looking into possibly filming a House of Coldest video really soon. I know that's something that's like been in the past for Senate. I think it'd be really awesome to post kind of Senate updates and see what's going on and utilize our Twitter and Facebook to kind of like let the public know what Senate has been up to and been doing. So if you would like to possibly be in that, let me know. Still looking to see possibilities of that being done, but reach out to me if you want to take part in that mission as well. Our next committee meeting will be next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. as usual. If you guys have any questions and you want to join, definitely text me or reach out. I would love to have you as well. And for office hours, just text me or email me. I'm available to meet with you guys at any time. But other than that, I'm open to questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? Senator Farrow.
Senator Farrow, Engineering Caucus, Chair Rodriguez, could you repeat the date of the meeting, like your committee meeting?
Yes, it'll be next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I believe. Let's see, that's the 24th.
Permission to run the poll?
Go ahead.
Follow up, sorry. Chair Rodriguez, that day is the first meeting of the 74th session at that time.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I forget that we have ours like kind of mixed up. But I will reach out to my committee and find a better time for us to meet that day. Thank you for reminding me of that as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Chair Rodriguez? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Chair Oldham.
Chair Oldag, Community Relations. So right now, the main two projects I'm working on are Small Business Initiative as well as the Restricted Occupancy Overlay. Specifically with the Small Business Initiative, right now we're in the phase of reaching out to those businesses, contacting the businesses to be able to post and promote them. So if you know of any small businesses that you really, really like, that you know that are struggling, or just have any point of contacts that you know would be interested of people that own small businesses in College Station, please reach out to me. We'd love to send them our Google form, or we'd love to be able to promote them. As far as the Restricted Occupancy Overlay, I'm currently in the process of about to start writing the residence occupancy overlay resolution, hopefully to go up by next Senate meeting, to be able to speak on behalf of Texas A&M students and Student Senate at City Council meetings specifically. And I think, we're also reaching out to certain student organizations to make them aware of kind of the situation with the restricted occupancy overlay. So if you know of any like organizations that would be interested in hearing it, or interested in, hearing more about it, speaking with me, again, just please let me know. But those are all the things that CR is working on. Our committee meeting is going to be happening next week around the same time it normally is. And I think that's all the updates I have. So I'm ready for any questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Alday? Seeing none, thank you, Chair Alday. Executive Director Marvitt.
Howdy, Senate. Just a few things. As always, we will be working, the Ops Committee will be working to get the recording of this meeting uploaded to the YouTube. The votes will be, added into the drive, and we will also work on getting that legislation sent out. Other than that, I have nothing else. So I yield my time to questions.
Are there any questions for Executive Director Marvitt? Seeing none, thank you. And that will conclude our period of committee reports. And we'll move into a period of executive reports, beginning with Student Body President Eric Mendoza.
Awesome. Well, howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
And happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't actually see the screen, but it's probably a lot on the screen. So, first off, congratulations to, I know a good handful in this room that were awarded the Buckwater Spirit Award today. Congratulations. That is extremely exciting for y'all, and pretty much an incredible sign in leadership and what's probably more to come. So congratulations on that, and thanks for investing your time here with us. Internally, we have a few things. Most of them relate to actually our Ops VP Jacqueline, who's here this evening. She did her committee roundtable last Thursday. We have our very last committee roundtable in the beginning of April, and we're gonna talk about transition, all of that good stuff. Include the outgoing chairs as well as the incoming chairs, as well as myself and the incoming student vice president at the parks. We also are finishing one more, I think, committee evaluations. For this semester, we do that every 2 years through each committee, so that's still forthcoming, but we finished, I think, one more today, so we have one more remaining. And then I know that Sarah Hine, as well as Jacqueline, our EVP of Ops, have recurring meetings set for the code revisions that are yearly, basically. So I bring that up to just say that they're both working on code revisions. They love to put it, I think, in an omnibus type bill to make it really efficient, and it'll be a long read, but it's the best way to do it. If you have things you want to change, please reach out to either Sarah Hine or to Jacqueline to allow it to go in the same process, so it's efficient in that way. It can be related to anything code specific. Externally, obviously, aiding in transition pieces too. Every year, SGA does an interview report. Bill Murray, our advisor, and a bunch of our advising team helps out with that a lot. So we're all going through that. For every grants, Zach's doing it, we're doing it, all of our VPs and commissioners are doing it, as well as all of our chairs and all of our committees are doing that. We'll obviously share that widely when it's done. We're also doing transition documents. I encourage you all to do that yourselves and kind of think about all that's happening. We've got a few conversations with COVID operations coming up, which is the team that runs testing on campus, everything relating to messaging, things like that. For all the spit tests you see around, not necessarily curated, but spit tests specifically. Revolving around the large scale pieces we've got coming up, big event, muster, student organization involvement, how do you increase that? To make sure we can have all of that safely and have those conversations. If y'all have things that, we have a lot that's come out recently, communication wise, if you're thinking or hearing from your peers, that is not resonating or that is not making sense, or that you yourself would like to see tweaked or improved upon or translated differently, please let me know. Love to pass that along as well. Any and all things are changed. They would just love to make it best to be distributed to students and have it best received. We completed the Texas Tough campaign with UT Austin and their Student Government Association. And in total, they might have raised a bit more, but again, we just ran out of time. That's you know how it sometimes works. But the reality is almost $50,000 in total for Texas students and $75,000 plus for A&M students specifically. All of the student relief fund, that's more student aid funding that we ever have in any year alone. So that's a really successful campaign. Thanks for your all's help on sharing that. And if you need to access it, the next piece is sharing more on how they do that. The short link for it is tx.ag/emergency aid. That's how students can access these funds. The financial aid office. The last thing is obviously the testing push is out. That goes along with the communication piece. The guidance is still consistent for this semester. If you have thoughts, concerns, comments with your peers, please also reach out. We'd love to touch base and communicate that upward. And then touch on the big event, those pieces. Last thing I'll say is it is not necessarily spring break. I appreciate all of y'all being here with us tonight. I was in some classes today and some people are enjoying their week. Good for them. As you go about this long weekend or whatever it is, you just treat it as a mental spring break at the very, very least. Take care of yourself, enjoy the time. It is going to be more semesters going, so please take care of yourself and enjoy the long weekend at the very least. But thanks. I'm open to questions.
Are there any questions for SVP Mendoza? Speaker Pro Tem Trosper.
Speaker Pro Tem Trosper, permission to preface briefly.
Thank
you. Mr. Eric, I guess I want to say I'm kind of perplexed and confused by the university's decision for mandatory testing after they've kind of taken away a spring break. I understand the necessity, I understand the medical point of view of it, but from my perspective as a student, not seeing students across campus, including students attending the bar districts and whatnot, the reality is I don't comprehend as to why the specific testing and mandatory after the spring break really makes a difference. And I'm further confused, it's not communicated at the beginning of the semester that they elected to do so.
Yeah, well, wasn't my decision, so I'll pass forward, but I think that if we'd known this spike was going to happen, you could have communicated it all earlier. I wish that was the case for all the things that we're doing. So that's kind of the timing piece. I know that a bunch of us, and I looped you in to some extent, were looped into calls at the beginning of this week on it, so it was kind of fresh to us all. I think I touched on it a second ago, you look around, I mean, the reality is people are still going to go experience something for spring break. That's fine. I think there's safe ways to do that. And that's something that, again, mental health wise you should do as well. And so I don't know that it's targeting in any sense. I mean, again, you are more impacted than us because you live on campus, for example. I get that. That's an unfortunate piece of it. But included this kind of tier of students that go in person. But the reality is, the biggest piece that can come from it that's positive is getting to stay on campus the entire semester. And that's what I harped on last semester, and that's what I will harp on this semester. If we can have big event in muster, we can have graduation, which we just had. I went to some of them this past weekend. I mean, the reactions from families, the reactions from the graduates, I mean, that's what we're here for. If I could spit in the tube for that, I'm good with it. So I'll pass up, we can communicate it better. I agree that there's some tweaks in there that aren't the best. We talked about some of those features, so please pass them up and I will do the same. But the reality is, you can't kind of estimate the spike that's there. But I hope, and I think that it's somewhat like this is just me talking, it's the last time this ever has to happen, right? That's the track we're on. And the beautiful part of it is everyone that's sticking around next year will have a different experience. And this hopefully is the last of the sucky parts of it, but it's still there. So
Commissioner Paul. Thank you. Is there any conversation at all about hospital students who have received both doses of the vaccine be exempt from any further testing or mandates? Because in all honesty, it really just doesn't to me make sense. If you're exempt, if you've had COVID in the last 3 months, why can't you be exempt if you've had a vaccine?
Well, that makes sense to me, and I share that as well. So I will pass it up again. I think it makes sense. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the decision was specifically, but makes sense to me. I'll pass it on.
Thank you very much.
Senator Smith.
Senator Smith, Coles Commons. What is the outlook right now for classes in the fall?
My understanding is, so fall semester 2020, spring 21 now, we have a number of modalities, including in-person only, hybrid, and then virtual only. I think you'll see them literally stick around, right? So you'll have all of the options, but the change should be, what I understand it to be, is a shift towards percentages being incredibly more in person, right? So that's what we saw change from fall to this semester. You saw a lot more in person only, like you cannot do Zoom at all. Like if you have Zoom, if you need Zoom, like you've got to thank the professor for it. That's in person only. I think you'll see the percentages shift that way to the fall. And it's just to leave some flexibility. That's what I'm understanding it to be. And again, if I were to guess, you're going to see a lot more of that come back. And I think students want that, right? Like I chose this semester to take a number of courses that were in person only. I have to go there. I can't Zoom in. I think you'll see that a lot more in the fall. Yeah.
Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you, SVP Mendoza.
Thank you.
Chief Justice McIntosh.
All right, howdy Senate and happy St. Patrick's Day. I swear I wore green all day long. We're not gonna test. But just some housekeeping on what Jacob been up to. So obviously now that election cycles are finished, we are probably not going to hear any more cases, not for sure, you never know what can happen. But we're starting to kind of transition into a different focus at our meetings. And we've been doing some of our bylaw revisions, as you guys know, you don't know there's a problem with the rules until it's there in front of you. So we've just been going through and kind of taking the time to reflect on some things that we've experienced in our most recent cases and how we think maybe the bylaws could be better improved to reflect upon our more accurate procedures and so forth. I know Eric talked about the upcoming committee roundtable. Surprise, I'm crashing it and I will be there this month as well. Jake, we're starting to try something new this year, and since we're kind of in a low with our cases, we're going to use our experience with
reading bylaws and kind of interpreting that stuff to help our committees with bylaw revision. So we figured that the most efficient way to reach all these committees is for me and some justices just to go to the committee roundtable, give a brief presentation on one, why it's important to have up-to-date bylaws, two, what they should kind of be looking for, and then extend our helping hand in any other way that we possibly could with our time. Other than that, I'm open to any questions you guys have for me.
Are there any questions for Chief Justice McIntyre? Seeing none, thank you, Chief Justice McIntyre. With that, I will relinquish the chair to Speaker Pro Tem Board Crossclear and take the floor. Howdy, Senate.
Howdy.
Awesome, we're at the end here, so we're just about to be done, so I'm gonna keep this short, sweet, and to the point. I've got a couple of updates. First and foremost, I want to thank y'all for listening to the presentation about Aggies and mentors. I know a lot of work has gone into getting that to where it is now. It's been a very long time coming, and it's very exciting to see that it's finally in the final stages before we're all set to go and run with hopefully SGA branded marketing, as well as working with the association and career projects. So all of those things are fantastic. We're very, very excited. If you have any questions moving forward about that, feel free to reach out to me. We want to make sure that we're hearing all of those concerns before it comes back up at our next meeting, so we can address any of them. And we can fix that accordingly as we move forward. The next thing I want to talk about is, of course, the meeting that we have next week. You're in the 74th session. Congratulations. It's going to be your first meeting of the 74th session. It's going to happen not here, but over in the NSC. Those details are still to come, and I'll get you that email here pretty soon with all of that, as well as anything else that you will need as we enter elections and do things for officers there. One thing that I do want to say is that if you have the opportunity to make it, if you feel comfortable, if you do not exhibit any symptoms of COVID or are not exposed, please come. SUAC is footing the bill for that room for us. And that bill, just to make sure we understand the gravity of how cool that is, it is a $3,000 bill that they are putting for Senate to have it on the 24th and the 28th for joint session. And so come to those two meetings if you can. Please come to those two meetings if you can. The last thing that I'll say is, since everyone else talked about the green they're wearing, the green I'm wearing tonight is my family crest from Ireland. It came over 3 generations ago from the McHugh clan. I love talking about it, kind of a nerd, so if you have any questions about that, come to me and talk to me about that. But with that, I'm looking for questions.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, I think that's a wrap.
With that, I will conclude the period of executive reports. We'll move into a period of closing roll call led by Speaker Pro Tem Crosscliff.
Awesome. All right, the link should be open. Go ahead and throw that out. Let's go ahead and have that done by. I'll give you about 10 minutes, but as soon as you're done, you can leave.
Like Speaker Pro Tem Crosscliff said, as soon as you have filled out that form, you're free to go. If you're in this room, as a reminder, if you pick your things up, if you're not on the team who is set to clean up tonight, you do have to go out those doors in the back, and then you'll go around to the parking garage or wherever you park. Other than that, thank you. Have an awesome night.